Welcome to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by TireRack.com, RockAuto.com, and by DieHard. Here's your MotorWeek podcast host, John Davis.
Thank you, Alec Webb. Welcome to MotorWeek Podcast 101. And today we're going to go back to school with an awful lot of new information on cars we've been testing of late. And helping me in this wonderful endeavor is our road test producer, Ben Davis.
Hey, guys.
Our writer, producer, and two-wheeling reporter, Brian Robinson.
Hello, Mr. Davis.
And our writer extraordinaire, Patrick Lucas.
Hello, everybody.
We're going to have our lightning round, a viewer question later, but of course, what are the cars we're going to talk about on today's show? The Sport Compact Challenge that we have coming up, otherwise known in our parlance as Cheap Speed, and Brian Robinson's going to talk to that. We're going to revisit a familiar topic, diesels. Where are they as far as the public is concerned? Recently had experience with the 2014 BMW 328D for everyone. That's an interesting diesel, and can the 3 Series really hold up its performance image being oil-powered? We had a Ram EcoDiesel V6 in here recently, and we're able to compare it to our long-term Ram gas V6. And GM basically this week announced that 10% of the U.S. market by 2020 they expect will be diesels, and we'll see what our panel of experts think. So let's start with that BMW 328D. Actually, let's start with the Sport Compact Challenge. Let's talk about something fun. All right, Brian, tell us about what the event was, how it went, and so forth. Did you find the cheap speed?
Yes, this was one of our many comparisons with Cars.com and USA Today. And basically, we had 8 sport compact cars under 30 grand, and we spent a couple days on the track, a couple days on the street, and picked a winner.
What kind of vehicles were they?
Was all across the board, everything from small hatchbacks to sedans.
So no one body style.
No, the only criteria was 30 grand, come in under 30 grand, and have some performance. That was pretty much the only criteria.
Now, it used to be that cars that size we didn't think were very satisfying to drive.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, there's always been some performance bargains out there.
Like the GTI.
Yeah, cars like that. I think maybe the big difference now is some of them have gotten a lot more serious in performance, and maybe some have also gotten better at splitting the performance / daily use line, have gotten better at kind of going on both ends of that.
Besides the GTI, what were some of the other contestants?
The GTI, usual things you would expect, Subaru WRX, a couple ones you maybe didn't expect, Hyundai Veloster Turbo, Kia Forte 5 SX, Scion FRS was in there. That's rear driver, the only rear driver. Fiat 500 Abarth was in there. Ford Fiesta ST was in there. So it was like I say, a lot of different types of vehicles. Pretty much everything was turbo powered. Mostly front wheel drive, and one all wheel drive, one rear wheel drive. So a little bit of everything.
What do you have an overall impression about the state of small performance cars?
Well, yeah, I would say there's a lot of options out there. If you don't want to, you don't need to spend a lot of money to have a lot of fun. The winner was the GTI, which was kind of no surprise. You could kind of tell the whole way.
Kind of the original hot hatchback to start with. Every
category, whether it's performance, straight line, track, fuel economy even, it was finished in first or second in every single category. So eventually that was the winner. Second place was Subaru WRX, which, another one of our favorites here. No real surprise there.
What was the biggest disappointment?
Well, I would say not really. I would have thought the Fiesta ST would have done better. They finished third.
Yeah, me too.
Because it was a blast on the track. But
we loved it.
Yeah, some of the people that were the judges just did not enjoy driving on the street, because it does have an ultra stiff ride. Of all the cars there, you did pay the most penalty on daily use for the performance. So I think that was probably the biggest thing that held it back.
You think it was a factor that it was only manual too? Or do they take that into account?
Yeah, I don't think they really
You get the
care
other
so
two
much about
automatic,
that.
right?
Yeah.
They're the first, second place.
Yeah.
And the 500 Abarth didn't do that well.
Yeah, the 500 Abarth, if you drive it by itself, I mean, it's a fun car, but when you put it up against real deal cars like the WRX and the GTI, it's not anywhere. It doesn't offer anywhere near that kind of performance.
Now, everyone at this table has actually spent time in the new GTI. What's your impressions of it? Because I was pretty impressed with it. It's very civilized, but I thought it was very capable.
It's funny you asked that because right when Brian got back, he said, "Guess who won?" And I pretty much nailed I had the GTI for first place, no doubt, just because it's such a great car. It's unbelievable how nice that car is inside with the materials and the design. And just the oneness with everything. Even the transmission is awesome. Everything is great. I did have Fiesta ST above WRX though, so that was a shock for me.
Even the GTI price was like mid-pack. It wasn't anywhere near the most expensive one. So,
Patrick, you haven't had as much experience with the older models of GTI.
Not at all, actually.
Yeah.
So I took the GTI to the beach this weekend. Loved it and drove about 3.5 hours in it and got to know it fairly well. Ton of fun. I was asking Ben. I said, would you like the manual better? He said, no, I would take the 6-speed DSG all the way. And I mean, I would have to agree a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I would like to see what the manual was like, but the DSG was very fast shifting, tons of fun on back roads.
I would have it in sport mode all the time, though.
Yeah,
I did. That's what I did.
Yeah.
I didn't even bother with normal.
I was basically up and down the hillsides north of San Francisco in it, and it's been a long time since I've driven a smaller car that was that enjoyable, and you used the term oneness with. You just felt like you were wearing the car. It was plenty roomy, but there was just a relationship to it that was very special. Nice car. Good choice. Okay, let's move on to our diesel discussion. And let's start with the BMW 328D diesel. And, here's a car that basically is pretty much a necessity in Europe. Over here, the 3 Series has never really been seen as an economy-oriented car. So is this diesel in particular, does it fit the 3 Series image in the U.S.? Anybody? And we all are pondering.
The diesel image in the U.S., I would say that it probably...
Does it fit the 3 Series image?
3 Series image. Yeah, it's definitely sporty. It's got great low-end torque and excellent throttle response. So, in my opinion, absolutely. It's awesome.
It was definitely a BMW from my perspective, just because what did it cost? Like $48,000.
Yeah, and it didn't have a backup camera.
Well, that sounds kind of nitpicky, but I mean that was a big deal.
It was not very well equipped.
Yeah, and it's a clear, it's clearly opposite of Mercedes' strategy with their diesels. They're putting them as the base engine,
right?
And it's the cheapest option you can get, actually. And
that's awesome.
If you actually want to sell diesels, if you're serious about it, that's probably a good strategy. Better than this, it's the same. You can get the 2-liter turbo 4 gas engine a lot cheaper in the 3 Series, but I think the pricing was about the same as the inline 6 335. So you could kind of choose whether you wanted.
It was pretty close.
Yeah, it's an interesting strategy in a bad way. There's no way to turn people off of diesel more than to charge a huge premium.
Yeah. Plus, you're going to be paying more for fuel. So, and that's my biggest problem with the diesels. We all love them. We especially love them in trucks. But unless you're pulling a huge horse trailer or something, when you sit down and look at the premium you have to pay for the engine plus the premium for the fuel, there's no real savings.
And of all the new era clean diesels that we're getting now, this one didn't seem as smooth as a lot of the other engines.
The Audi diesel, a comparable Audi diesel, seems a lot smoother.
Yeah.
No doubt there. Yeah.
So we liked it. It's still a 3 Series, which meant it was fun to drive, but I don't think it would be our first choice, or even second, probably. All right, let's move on to a vehicle that's maybe a little bit more fitting for a diesel, and that's the Ram EcoDiesel. This is the V6 turbo that's been in the Grand Cherokee. What did you think of it? And while you're at it, let's talk about the fact that we've been living with a Ram 1500 V6 gas for a year. And I'll give the numbers. We basically got 3 to 4 mile per gallon better fuel economy in the EcoDiesel over a period of almost 2 weeks. But then it costs more as well, and that sort of pretty much negates that. But having said that, was it How'd you feel about it in that truck? It's a full-size truck and the first light-duty full-size truck to have a diesel in a very long time.
Yeah, I didn't spend a whole lot of time with it, maybe as much as some others did, but I was pretty impressed with it. I still don't know that I would pay the extra for it, but I love the fact that they're making it available in a light-duty truck. So.
It's about $3,000, I think.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in it. I was a driver in the straight-up 200-mile Comparo as well. It's great to have that torque and power when you need it, but honestly, our test was with no cargo, and there really wasn't that much difference between. I thought there was going to be more difference between the diesel and the six-cylinder gas.
It's a very good six-cylinder gas.
It is. Yeah. It's great. I mean, I thought torque off the line and throttle response was going to be a lot crisper in the diesel, but actually, I think off the line performance and torque was about equal almost. The diesel was a little louder. It's the only big difference that I felt throughout the testing.
I thought it was very deceiving press car because that was the top, absolute best trim level you could get in the diesel. So I got in there and I was driving around. I was like, this thing's so quiet. That's amazing. And then you just realize, there's so much sound deadening in that super top trim level. And if you get outside and hear the EcoDiesel go by, you can definitely tell that's a diesel truck.
It's fair to mention that our EcoDiesel pickup was a larger cab than the gas.
Yeah, it had the full size crew cab body on it. Mm-hmm. Versus the quad cab, extended cab for our V6. But I'm not sure that really made a whole lot of difference except for
probably not,
somebody riding in the back seat. Do you think, it's apparent from everything I've read that we're going to see a lot more diesels, particularly in pickup trucks to meet fuel economy standards. Do you think the public's going to go for it? Apparently, they've already bought a lot of these EcoDiesel Rams.
Yeah, I think so. It's not going to be a huge increase. It's a slow ramp up, just like hybrids. It's just been a slow ramp up, and I think we'll see that as well.
Having said that, GM this week, there's been a big conference, and one of the powertrain and marketing guys from General Motors stood up and said that between now and 2020, they think up to 10% of the U.S. market, which is about, let's say that's 1,600,000 vehicles a year, will be diesels. Now, a lot of those are probably going to be pickup trucks, but do you think it's really going to pick up steam beyond, what do we have? Besides Volkswagen and Audi and Mercedes, we have the Chevy Cruze diesel. There's not a lot right now.
I don't think it will, no.
What's the percentage now? That's what I don't know how much.
It's probably about 3%. I'm guessing.
Yeah, there's no way it's going to go that high that quick.
It sounds to me like what they were really saying is, in order to meet some of the fuel economy standards, probably for SUVs, you're going to be forcing us to buy diesels, and I have a feeling that's more of what it's going to be. I don't disagree with you. Okay, let's move on now to our lightning round. Our panelists have 2 minutes to debate a trending automotive topic. And time is up when they hear the bell, Patrick. And so here we go. The Insurance Institute for Highway Safety recently released a list of best used cars for teens and beginner drivers. It basically recommended large, heavy, slow vehicles under $20,000. It also obviously looked at vehicles that had a decent crash test ratings and stability and traction controls. So we're kind of just curious, what cars did we all learn to drive, and did they fit that kind of category?
Ooh, definitely not.
What was your first car, Ben?
My first car was a Beetle. Well, the first car that got tags on. I had a couple of them.
Did you learn in a Beetle?
I learned in a MGB.
Oh, my goodness.
Learned how to drive stick in an MGB.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Patrick?
Let's see. I learned on a 96 Ford Explorer.
Oh, okay.
And then, let's see, the first car I drove in high school, I split my time between a Grand Cherokee and a Volvo station wagon. So I don't know. They probably fell somewhere.
That's
in there,
pretty much in the ballpark.
Yeah, our first car was a Chevrolet Chevette, which to me was the perfect first car. Small.
Oh, yeah.
I totally go against the big, large, heavy vehicle. Sure, they're going to be safe, but think about all the people they're going to be running into in parking lots and stuff on their first car.
Parking. So you have a manual in your Chevette?
No, it was automatic.
A friend of mine had a manual Chevette, his first car, rear-wheel drive.
And it had AC, which was like a emergency brake. As you turn on the AC full, that thing would just come to a halt.
Those were cool cars, man. They were.
I learned how to drive in an early 60s Plymouth Fury. It was the driver's ed car, and I think it had push-button transmission.
Oh, yeah.
And I can remember the first day, the very first time we were out on the road, they took us to the busiest intersection in town. But the day I got my driver's license, my father drove me out to the MVA, and we were in must have been like a 64 Oldsmobile 88, so a big tank. It was a rainy day, and on the way home, I rear-ended somebody.
Oh, no.
I just nudged them, just barely hit them. But, you lock the brakes up, and it's 3 tons, and you're sliding. And
Would you take your driver's test in?
I had a Mustang, though. An old Mustang was my first car.
That's the one. Mine was a Celebrity Eurosport. I thought that was the most high-performance car ever.
Yeah.
I can't even remember.
The question is, could you all parallel park? Did you all pass that the first time?
Yeah, first time.
Right.
Yeah. Very good. Very good.
It was a liberal 2 minutes.
That was cool. That was a good lightning round. Let's move on now to our viewer question. Fred from up north in Canada has emailed us, and here's what he emailed. I don't understand why some economy cars, whether smart cars or hybrids, give themselves an economy handicap by requiring premium fuel. Up here in Canada, that's about a 15% penalty in the cost of fuel. So why premium? Also, why not use the excellent small diesels from Europe and smart cars or hybrids?
That's been a wonder of mine, too.
Here's the thing. Ford or Chevy or Smart or whoever, they don't care about how much you're spending on fuel. The only thing they're doing is they care about raising their numbers to meet standards. So the best way to do that is small engines that are high compression and turbo, which requires premium fuel. So they're just thinking about their numbers. They're not worried about what you're spending on fuel.
And with the turbocharged engines, it's making more and more of the premium fuel a necessity.
Yeah, it's the government saying, hey, you got to meet these regulations, and that's how they want to do it. So, that's
up to this point, when you saw V6s and V8s with premium, often it was the question of marketing that gave the car more cachet. But now we really are getting into a situation where, with these 1 and 1.4 and 1.6 liter turbos,
with 11 and 12 to 1 compression,
right? So that's the answer. And Fred, as far as the diesels, up until very recently, most of the diesels don't meet some of the U.S. standards. They're starting to. The newest European diesels do, and I'm sure that's probably the same in Canada. And what's going on there is you'll see more diesels, but I think there's some question of whether the public's going to warm up to them. So far, they have not.
I imagine a diesel electric hybrid would have some phenomenal numbers.
And, they've got
people would be even more hesitant to buy it.
Well, they've got, who is it in Europe has got the diesel hybrid?
Volkswagen XL1.
Yeah.
And there's actually somebody else, is it Volvo? Somebody has a diesel hybrid.
So, yeah.
Anyway, my understanding is that the fuel economy gain over a gas hybrid is not that outstanding. And there apparently is some mechanical issues that make it harder to do. So
I think it'd be the best of both worlds because you can run on the hybrids, usually do better in city, and diesels do much better, open highway, low RPM, constant cruising. Yeah. So you think it would be the best of both worlds.
I am surprised we haven't seen that technology a little more prevalent, especially in Europe, than we have so far. Mm-hmm. Okay, I guess that wraps up our Podcast 101 here at MotorWeek. I want to thank our audio engineer, Jim Bigwood, our podcast creator, Bob Mixter, and our podcast producer, who's Patrick Lucas, sitting here at the table with us. Also, Ben Davis and Brian Robinson for joining us. For all of us at MotorWeek, thank you very much for joining us. Be sure to catch MotorWeek on your television or iPad or anywhere else you care to watch us on public television stations and also on the Velocity Cable channel.
And YouTube.
Absolutely. Till next time, I'm John Davis. Thanks, and drive carefully.
You have been listening to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by TireRack.com, RockAuto.com, and by Die Hard. For additional information on podcasts, videos, and showtimes, visit our website at motorweek.org. And watch MotorWeek, television's longest-running automotive magazine series each week on your local PBS station.